Good morning, everybody. This is Ranganathan here with a big apology starting behind schedule. We had some technical issues. I was trying to sort it out, and then so a few minutes behind. I'm sorry. I'll make sure that we don't repeat this again. Thank you. Okay, this week we'll be doing cultural leaders. A was finished. Now this year we'll be doing cultural leader B. Okay, the first one you will see the stamp is Hanawa Hokiichi from 1746 to 1821. Was a Japanese blind kokaku scholar of the Edo period. From an early age, he had a weak constitution, and at the age of 5 suffered from sickness, which caused a great eye pain, and vision gradually diminished. He was advised that his eyes would not be cured unless he changed both his birth year and his name. Okay, so even in Japan, they have such beliefs. So although he changed his name as Tetsunosuke and subtracted 2 years, his vision never returned. So it's like in our place also people change their names because there are people who suggest name change will help you. In 1779, Hanawa began work on compilation of the Gunsho Ryuju, great collection of old documents. His efforts occupied his next 40 years, and the final version was 670 volumes. In 1793, he founded the institution once again, and this is on my way. Founded the Kakukodansho Institute and became his first head. There's a commemorative stamp commemorating this great personality. And then we have Koda Shigeyuki, 1867 to 1947, pen name Koda Rohan. Many of the people in the art section, they always used to carry a pen name, which is very normal in every country. Was a Japanese author. His daughter Aya Koda was also a noted author who also often wrote about him. Koda wrote The Icon of Liberty, also known as the Buddha of Art and the Elegant Buddha in 1889, and a house, Kakyu and a snail cottage on which Koda lived was rebuilt in 1972 by the Meijimura Museum. Koda was one of the first persons to be awarded the Order of Culture when it was established in 1937. Utagawa Ando, so you must be heard this name, Hiroshige, number of times in connection with ukiyo-e art, was born in 1797 in Edo. His father was the warden of a Edo fire brigade that serviced the shogun. In 1809, at the age of 13, Horishige lost both parents and inherited his father's position. In 1810 or 1811, he sought in vain to learn ukiyo-e under the most powerful master of kabuki actor portraits, Utagawa Toyokuni. He was in 1769-1825. Toyokuni moved more students than he could handle, so turned them out to Hiroshige or to his friend Utagawa Toyo. So Hiroshige was added to that, so Toyokuni could not handle that much, so he shifted him to his friend Utagawa Toyohiro. In 1832, Hiroshige reportedly traveled to Tokaido Road to Kyoto. Tokaido Road was from Edo to Kyoto, and an official business. He was accompanying an entourage of shogun's officials with their annual gift of horses to the emperor in Kyoto. Returning to Edo, Hiroshige immediately launched his monumental project of publishing 53 stations of Tokaido Road, and a beautiful stamp on him was released in 1997 in multicolor, and its face value of 80 yens. Then, of course, our great Natsume Soseki. He was a Japanese novelist. He was best known around the world by his novels Kokoro, Bochan, I Am Cat, Kasumagura, and Kusamakura, and his unfinished work, Light and Darkness. He was also a scholar of the British literature and the writer of haiku, kanshi, and fairy tales. In 1984 until 2004, his portrait appeared on the front of Japanese 1,000 yen note. You can see the note on the right-hand side, and a handsome Soseki-san on that. The stamp was, you can see the stamp was a part of the 20th century events released on August 23rd, 1999. I Am Cat is a satirical novel written in 1905 to 1906 by Natsume Soseki about Japanese society during the Meiji period, particularly uneasy mix of the Western culture and Japanese traditions. And the Japanese poet Yasuno Akiko and the first collection of poems, Midaregami is Tangled Hair, containing some 400 poems, was published in 1901. This bundle is swirling expression of uninhibited sensuality. Midaregami was a hymn, praise of love and early fierce emotions of youth. They caused a strong protest because of their uninhibited expression of female sexuality. This ran counter to the Confucianism of the Meiji period, which tried to suppress and hide sexuality. Then, of course, Natsume Soseki's Bochan novel is written, and the story is based on the author's personal experience as a teacher dispatched to Matsuyama in Shikoku, and Soseki was born in Tokyo, and dwindling in Matsuyama was his first experience living elsewhere. This novel is set in the middle school of Matsuyama, present-day Ehime Prefecture, Matsuyama Higashi High School, and Natsume Soseki's Bochan is the name by which his small toy train is running still in Ehime. And then Motori Norinaga was a Japanese scholar, Kokugaku, active during the Edo period. He is conventionally ranked as one of the 4 great men of Kokugaku nativist studies. Norinaga's most important work included Kojiki Den, commentaries on Kojiki made over a period of around 35 years, and his annotations on the tale of Genshi using the methods of Kokugaku and Kawozing. And Norinaga claimed that Kojiki was the oldest surviving Japanese text. He used the supposed antiquity of Kojiki to develop the idea of indigenous Japanese religion, laws, and religion, which were later used to the development of the ideas of state Shinto. And Takamoto Gidia was a Jori chanter and the creator style of chanted narration of Japan's puppet theater. Jori is, it goes around the thing like, even in India, we have the guys who go around the village showing a movie like that, they carry that. So he chanted the narration to the puppet theater, which is used ever since. The name Gidoyu has since become the term for all Jori chanters. Takamoto Gidoyu, 1714, was a Jori chanter and creator of style of chanted narration of Japanese puppet theater, which has been used ever since. The name Gidoyu was since became the term for all Jori chanters. He was a close colleague of female playwright Shikamatsu Monzamen and the founder of the manga of the Takemotsuza puppet theaters. Originally known as Kiyomitsu Gorobe, he took the name of Takemoto Gyotsu no Jo in 1701. His stamp was released in 2001, in the month of November. Then you have Yoshie Fujiwara, and it was 1898 in Osaka, and then he lived up to March 22nd, 1976, which was a Japanese tenor singer. He was born in Osaka. His mother, Kinyu Sakata, was a biwa player and geisha. Biwa is something like it's a stringed instrument, one of the 7 gods of luck, what they call as. We have shown them that they come in Shichifukujin. They're supposed to come in they come in a boat Then there is one female goddess with a biva equivalent to our Saraswati. So she carries a biva. His father, Neil Brodie Reid, a Scottish merchant, worked for Home Rigger and Co., who did not raise Yoshi. Takuzaburo Fujiwara adopted him, and from whom he received the family name Fujiwara. In 1934, he established the Fujiwara Opera and became a notable figure of the Japanese opera industry. And you can see beautiful 5 stamps, already used stamps, and the thing. And this was released in 1998. This is what we have shown last time. And then we have Akissava Bakkin, born on July 4th, 1790. This is what we are going to do now. Died in December 1, a dominant Japanese writer of the early 19th century, admired for his lengthy, serious historical novels that are highly moral in tone. Loyalty, filial piety, and the restoration of once great families were his main themes. His special attention to Chinese civilization, Buddhist philosophy, and national history was tempered by a concern for language and style, compassion for his fellow men, and a belief in human dignity. Bakkin's finest work is Nanso Satomi Hakkenden, Satomi and 8 Dogs, on the theme of restoring family fortune. It is acclaimed as a classic of Japanese literature, again released in the year 1998, this time. Then you have Umeji Takeshita in 1884 to 1934, was a Japanese poet and painter. He is known foremost for his Nihongo illustration of beautiful women and girls, though he will also produce a wide variety of works, including book covers, serial newspaper illustration, furoshiki, postcards, and pattern washi paper. During his time lecturing at the art school, Takeshita took a Japanese painting course, and he wrote the concept of Japanese painting, a handwritten guide to various styles of ink wash painting that was translated into German. Now, you have Kawabata. There's also later another stamp of Kawabata, you can see. As a Japanese novelist, a short story writer whose spare, lyrical, subtly shaded prose work won him the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1968, his first Japanese author to receive the award. His works were enjoyed broad international appeal and are very widely read. And then, of course, Okusa is a known name everywhere and died in 1849 in Edo. Japanese master artist and printmaker of the ukiyo-e, pictures of the floating world. Earliest contemporary record of Okusa dates from the year 1778, when at the age of 18 he became the pupil of the leading ukiyo-e master, Sunsho. The young Okusa first published works appeared in the following year and actor prints of the Kabuki theatre. His famous works to mention a few: Under the Wave of Kanagawa, the big tidal wave you can see, Kanagawa Okinami no Ura, and also known as the Great Wave, from the series of 36 views of Mount Fuji. Okay, that is great work. Uyemura Shohen, April 1875 to 1949, was a pseudonym of an artist in Meiji, Taisho, and early Showa period of Japanese painting. Shohan was known primarily for her bijinka, or paintings of beautiful women in Nihongo style. Although she produced numerous works on historical themes and traditional subjects, but still her bijinka is very famous. Uyemura Shohen's works have been selected as the subject of commemorative postage stamps twice by the Japanese government. 1965, Jono Mae, a commemorative work for 1965 Philatelic Week, and 1980, Mother and Child as a part of the Modern Arts series. In 2000, Uyemura Shohen herself was the subject of a commemorative postage stamp under the Cultural Leaders series of Japan Post. That's what you can see. And Hantaro Nagaoka, 1865-1950, was a Japanese physicist and a pioneer of the Japanese physics during the Meiji period. He did research on spectroscopy and other fields, and in 1909 he published a paper on inductance of solenoids. In 1929, he became the first person to describe meteor burst communications. And in his lifetime scientific work, Nagaoka was granted the Order of Culture by the Japanese government in 1937. The Nagaoka crater in the moon is named after him because he found that crater. Then we have Nakaya Uchiro, a physicist, studied crystal of snow. Nakaya Uchiro, Japan Academy Prize in 1949 he received, and was a Japanese physicist and a science essayist known for his work in glaciology and low temperature sciences. He is credited with making the first artificial snowflakes. In 1933, Nagaya observed natural snow and created 3,000 photographic plates of snow crystals, classifying them into 7 major and numerous minor types. In his later life, Nagaya was accomplished a sumie, Indian ink painting, sumie artist. A representation of 4 seasons of fundamental much to the Japanese art. Nakamura Teijio. His book, this book celebrates the beauty of the seasons by combing the poetry and food. The Japanese sweets associated with the seasons are paired with the words of Nakamura Teijio, a well-known haiku poet. This page shows sweets shaped like shellfish, a type of smelt evocative of late spring and early summer in Japanese culture, with haiku that describes the way in which fish swim safely upstream. As a person who contributed to culture, he was awarded in 1980. So you can see there 3 stamp sheets for all the 3 of them, Antaro, then Nakamura and Nakamura Tejo, and Nakaya. The 3 of their stamp sheets are here. And then you also have the Masaoka Shiki and Tori Kyo Naga and Akissava. Okay, and we'll see who are these 3 people. These 3 gentlemen, Masaoka Shiki, pen name of Masaoka Noboru, was a Japanese poet, author, and a literary critic in Meiji period Japan. Shiki is regarded as a major figure in the development of modern haiku poetry. He also wrote on reform of tanka poetry. Some consider Shiki to be one of the 4 great haiku masters, the others being Matsudo Basho, okay, and Yusa Busan, and Kobayashi Isa. And of course, Matsubasa, we all know, we also had a presentation of all his works. Shiki came to Tokyo and his group of disciples that are known as Nippon School after the paper where he had been haiku editor that is now published in group's work. And then Professor Tanakadate Akitsu was a Japanese physicist with diverse interests and effort. His given name is also written as Akitsu. Akitsu is written as Akitsu. Takadate was also an early proponent of military aviation. In Russo Japanese War, he was an advisor to the Imperial Japanese Army on the use of hot air balloons for military reconnaissance purposes. He led to the establishment of aviation laboratory at Tokyo Imperial University at 1907. Conference in Paris and metric system, Takadate saw a model of early fixed-wing airplane and extended his stay in Paris to study further at that time when he was sent to Paris. In his laboratory, he built a wind tunnel. He founded the Department of Aviation in Tokyo University with his small beard, looking more European than Japanese style. And then we have Tori Kyo Naga, who was an ukiyo-e artist of the Tori school, originally Sekiguchi Shinsuke, the son of a Edo bookseller. He took on Tori Kyo Naga as an art name. Although not biologically related to Tori family, he became head of the group after the death of the adoptive father and teacher, Tori Kyo Naga's works have been featured several times in commemorative postage stamps issued by the Japanese Post Office. There you can see one of his works as a stamp that was released in the year 2002. His works were there in the 1958 Philatelic Week, 1982 Philatelic Week. That is a second pair that was issued at that time. 2003 commemorative issue of the 250th year of Kyo Naga's birth. These are the stamps which were released at that time. Okay. And then Mokiichi Saito, 1882 to 1953, was a Japanese poet of the Taisho period, a member of the Aragai school of Tanka and psychiatrist. Mokiichi's career as a poet spanned for almost 50 years. At the time of his death, at the age of 70, he published 17 poetry collections, which include 14,200 or so poems. He collected works being overwhelmingly devoted to Tanka. In 1950, he received the inaugural Yomiuri Prize. Yomiuri is a paper Yomiuri symbol, and they had a competition. He won the Yomiuri Prize for poetry. He received the Order of Culture in 1951. Then you have Ozu. Yoshijiro Ozu was a Japanese film director, screenwriter. He began his career during the era of silent films. Ozu first made a number of short comedies before turning more serious themes in 1930. The most prominent themes of Ozu's work are marriage and family, especially the relationship between generations. His most widely beloved films include Late Spring, Tokyo Story, The Atom Afternoon. In 2012 Sight and Sound poll, Ozu's Tokyo Story was voted as the third greatest film of all time by the critics worldwide. In the same poll, Tokyo Story was voted the greatest film of that time by 1358 directors and filmmakers worldwide. That is Ozu with his big camera in those days, the stamp that you see. Then we have Kitasato Shisaburo, who spelled as Kitasaburo Shibasaburo, 1853, from the Kitasato Hyugo Prefecture. Now it's a Kumamoto Prefecture, Japan. Died in 1931 in Tokyo. Japanese physician and a bacteriologist who helped discover a method to prevent tetanus and diphtheria, and the same year as Alexander Yersin discovered the infectious agent responsible for the bubonic plague. When Japanese Medical Association was founded in 1923, he became the first president. In 1924, the emperor invested him with the title of Baron. Then we have Koizumi Yakumo, who is born as Patrick Lafcadio Heron, was a Greek-Irish-Japanese writer, translator, and teacher who introduced the culture and literature of Japan to the West. His writings offered unprecedented insight into Japanese culture, especially his collections of legends and ghost stories, such as Kawaiden, stories and studies of strange things. Before moving to Japan and becoming a Japanese citizen, he worked as a journalist in the United States. That's him. And then Isamu Noguchi was a compelling writer when it came to his own way of thinking and subjects of immediate concern to his work. In 1960, paralleling his career as an artist and a designer, Noguchi became a sought-after explainer of East to West and vice versa. As a body of work, they offer surprisingly comprehensive look at Noguchi's complex interests in material culture. The traditional crafts of Japan, in particular, uses the uselessness and the social function of essential power of art. You can see his works were there, born in Los Angeles, son of a Japanese poet and American writer. Noguchi spent his early school years in Japan, from where his mother shipped off to high schools in Indiana. And the Smithsonian Museum celebrates the 100th anniversary of the pioneering 20th century sculpture's birth with a review of his work. And that's a big stamp that is released in the US. So we followed it and got that stamp on Izumo Noguchi's works and put them up there. And then Koga Masawa was a composer, mandolinist, and guitarist of Showa era, who was dubbed as Japan's living burden by Universal Press Syndicates. His melancholy style, based upon Nakayama Shimpai's Yananugi scale, was popularly known as Japan Koga Melody. He was awarded the Order of the Sacred Treasure, 4th class, and the People's Honor Award for his contribution to the Japanese music. And you can also say first day cover of all the three of them with the cancellation with their images on that. Then we have some more cultural leaders who appeared in the 20th century stamp series. One is Sukiyaki, a song by Japanese crooner Hugh Sakamoto, 1960. Uye wo muite aruku, looking up and walking is what it says, and alternately titled Sukiyaki is a song by Japanese crooner Hugh Sakamoto, first released in Japan in 1961. The song topped the charts in a number of countries, including US Billboard Hot 100 in 1963. The song grew to become one of the world's top best-selling singles at all times, selling over 13 million copies worldwide. His lyrics tell the story of a man who looks up and whistles, and while he's walking, so that his tears will not fall, with the verses describing his memories and feelings. And you can see him on the right-hand side, his song on the stamp, which is written there. Then we have Ryomu Ga Yuku by the author Shiba Ryotaro. Ryotaro Shiba, born as Teiichi Fukuda, was a Japanese author, best known for his Hello, Kegda? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Nadula disconnect ಆಯ್ತಿಲ್ಲ?
Sir.
Okay, I'm back now. Okay, I'll be there. One of the only two Japanese to be awarded the Nobel Prize in literature was Kawabata. Received the award in 1869 and Kenzaburo Oe in 1994. Many of Kawabata's works offer meditations on hopeless love and death. Famous works include Snow Country, Thousand Cranes, and The Sound of the Mountain. And the Nobel Prize in Literature is 1968 is awarded to Yasunori Kawabata for his narrative mastery, which will narrative, with great sensibility expresses the essence of Japanese mind. Kenzaburo Oe's novels, short stories, and essays, strongly influenced by the French and American literature. Oe was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1994 for creating an imagined world where life and myth condense to form a concentric picture of the human predicament. So both of them received the Nobel Prize. Then in the world of music, Kazuhiro Moriuchi, known professionally as Shinichi Mori, is a Japanese male enka singer. Enka is an old type of song and composer who also sings folk and pop music. He has sold more than 90 million records, making him one of the best-selling Japanese musicians. In 1974, Japan Record Award winning song Yerimo Misaki was composed by him, and in 1982 song Few no Riveria was composed also by Eiichi Otaki. Okay, there is two of his songs. One was by Eiichi Otaki, other was by Yoshida, was composed by him. Then Ozawa Seiichi, world famous conductor of music. He was a Japanese conductor known for his advocacy of modern composers and for his work with San Francisco Symphony and Toronto Symphony Orchestra and Boston Symphony Orchestra, where he served as a music director for nearly 29 years. And then we have Iku Hirayama. 2000, he was there up to 2009, was a Japanese Nihonga painter and educator. Born in Setoda-cho, Hiroshima Prefecture, he was famous in Japan's Silk Road paintings of dreamy desert landscapes in Iran, Iraq, and China. He produced a series of paintings depicting the introduction of Buddhism to Japan. Hibakusha, he portrayed an atom bomb attack, and he himself was a Hibakusha. He portrayed Hibakusha is an atom bomb victim who suffered extensive burns, everything during the American atom bombing of Hiroshima, portrayed an atom bomb attack on Hiroshima. He was also active in the preservation of the cultural heritage of the word. Example, Burmese Buddhas, and internationally appreciated for his efforts in this sphere. Hiroyama was awarded the French Legion d'Honneur Order 1996, Japan Order of Cultural Merit 1998, amongst others. He was the president of Tokyo University of the Arts and Music and president of Japanese National Commission for UNESCO. The Prix Hirayama is awarded by the Academy, does inscriptions as well as letters for distinguished contributions to scholarships in Asia. Then we have Sakuzu Yoshino, was a Japanese academic, historian, author, and a professor of political science. He was active as a political thinker of the Taisho period. He is best known for his formulation of theory, Minpon Shugi, or politics of people. Yoshino argued that democracy was compatible with the concept of emperor sovereignty. In December 1918, Yoshino joined with others to establish Reimei Kai, which was society to propagate the idea of democracy among the people. Then we have two cultural leaders of years, who were both in the black and white movie days. One is Batsuma Bondo, who was one of the most prominent Japanese actor of the 20th century, famous for his rebellious sword-fighting roles in many Jidaigeki silent films. He rose to fame after joining the Tojin studio of Makino Film Productions in Kyoto in 1923. Batsuma's films, particularly his early works, would not be complete without the fast-paced sword-fighting scenes that always guaranteed the rise of heart in his heart rate in the audience of his audience. Then we have Masaoka Shiki, was a Japanese actor and is a kabuki artist. He went by the name Onoe. He gained great popularity, appearing over 1,000 films, and has been called as the first superstar of Japanese cinema. He played the lead characters in almost all dramatizations of stories published by Tachikawa Bunko, which at that time was a best-selling publisher. He and his troupe also remained closely associated with Makino for over a decade, and Makino directed Onoe in 60 to 80 films per year, ultimately accounting for about half of his total output. Then we have the first edition of the Directory of Daigenkinkai by Otsuki Fumiko. Otsuki Fumiko was a Japanese lexicographer, linguist, and historian, best known for the Japanese language dictionaries that he built. Genkai literally means sea of words, and its successor, Dai Genkai, literally means great sea of words, and for his studies in Japanese grammar. Genkai gave not only basic information about words, they are represented in kana and kanji and the definition in Japanese, also pronunciation and etymologies and citations, etc. And then we have Eiji Yoshikawa, was a famous historical novelist. He was awarded the Cultural Order of Merit in 1960, the highest award for a man of letters in Japan. The Order of the Sacred Treasure and the Mainichi Art Award just came after before his death from cancer in 1962. In 1935, with the sensitization of Musashi, about famed swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, in the Asahi Shimbun, he settled his historical adventure fiction writer, Musashi, as a Japanese epic novel written by Eiji Yoshikawa about the life and deeds of legendary swordsman Miyamoto Musashi. Then we have the novelist and a playwright, novel Robono Ishii, Wayside Stones by Yamamoto Yuzo, and Tomitaka Tasaka's A Fable by the Way, Robono Ishii, is made in 1938 and taken from Yuzu Yamamoto's novel. Takes place around 1902. Was about a young boy brought up entirely by his mother since his drunken father is never home. Story about the hardships of the boy and the family rescued by his teacher was the thing. And Yuzo Yamamoto was a Japanese novelist, playwright. His real name was pronounced as same as his pen name. He was born in a family of kimono makers. He helped co-found Japanese Writers Association, openly criticized Japanese wartime military government for its censorship policies. After World War II, he joined the debate of Japanese language reform, and from 1947 to 1953, he served as a National Diet Parliament member in the House of Councillors. And in 1965, he was awarded the prestigious Order of Culture. Then we have the interesting man, Oriya, the staff officer of the 18th Army. Okay, this he gets a mention here more because of the song that unit sang. Okay, Dareka Kokoyo Umowazaru. It's a song by Koga Masawa. It's a very famous song saying we are who does not think about going home is what wartime hit. The touching human side of this story is connected by this popular wartime song is this. On July 25th, 1945, Lieutenant General Atazo Adachi, commander of the 18th Army, ordered his men to die of honor at the end of by end of September, as the unit lost fighting strength. Around the same time, many soldiers began singing the song, Dareka Kokyo wo Omowazaru, means who does not think about their homeland. Here, wartime heat. So they were all singing that because they were ordered to make sacrifice. This by way of harakiri or something that they give their life for the thing because they lost the honor of fighting. We lost all hope of returning, but we all thought about the home. Oriya, the staff officer of the 18th Army, which was responsible for the operations in the region, and now as the chairman of the group that prays for those who died during the war and seeks to recover the remains of the soldiers recalled in 2020 when he was 105. He learned that the war had ended 3 days after the Japanese surrender in August 15, sparing him from sacrificing himself. That is a picture of the young Oriya when he was there. And thank you all for joining us today. That is all the cultural leaders that we have. So that is slightly short. We are not done 1 hour, but I'm sorry for a lot of technical glitch. Suddenly starting little delayed because it's not connecting. Then in the middle, the connection getting cut, and then I have to get back to that. I'm sorry this has given a lot of inconvenience. Next time we will watch our technical side. That's the problem is in my house internet connection. So that's why I have to go through that. I'm sorry. My sincere apologies to all of you. I wish you all a very happy weekend. See you all with the next episode. We have just crossed 50% of our targeted 50 themes in 50 weeks. It's a long journey. We are just halfway through. Halfway through cannot be a satisfactory way of saying it because when you try to jump across the well, when you're halfway through, you're going to be inside the well. So I'll do my best to complete or as I thought of and as on target. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.